Guys, this video is sponsored by Sheath. Listen, traditional boxer briefs have long been overdue for an upgrade. This modern ergonomic design... Ergonomic design. This is a weird word that they'd use. Nobody knows what that means. This modern ergonomic design...
Ergonomics? You've never heard of ergonomics?
No. Sheath reinvented men's boxer brief with 3 individual compartments. All right, let's try it one more time. Just click the link and use the code Chael for 20%. It's soft, it's comfortable, I wear it, I'm cool. Guys, I get the weirdest message today. These gentlemen are trying to sell underwear, and I get this from a guy that used to be in the U.S. Army, so he instantly has my respect, and he literally says to me, Chael, I follow your channel, and if you put this underwear on my head and do a video, I would appreciate it. The nerve of some people. So click on the link and use the promo code Chael at checkout, or go to sheathunderwear.com/Chael for 20% off. That's sheathunderwear.com/Chael, or just click on the link below and use the promo code Chael for 20% off.
Moving on.
Here was something that was fascinating to me. The fights just got done, right? The fights literally just got done. And there was people talking about Adesanya just can't do it at 205 pounds. And I thought that that was a fascinating conclusion to come to, and I would encourage you to take a deep breath and not repeat that in public where you want to be taken with a credible tone. Israel Adesanya, with no experience and grossly undersized, just went 25 minutes with Jan Blachowicz. To put that in perspective for you, that is 23 minutes more than Dominic Reyes went with Jan Blachowicz, and it is 4 rounds more than former world champion Luke Rockhold went with Jan Blachowicz. You're not questioning those guys, and neither am I, but to act as though you should question Adesanya, who, by the way, only lost 1 position. Rounds 4 and 5 were the only 2 rounds that were very clear. When that went to Bruce Buffer and it went to the decision, the talk going through everybody, including your guys' living rooms, was simply, did Adesanya bank the first 3? Is Adesanya about to become world champion? None of us knew. The answer was no. It turned out no, it was not. But rounds 4 and 5 were the only ones that were clear, but they were rinse and repeat. It was the same thing. Double leg to hold a guy there. Blachowicz did a very good job. Adesanya was oversized. That's what happened. That's still 1 position. And to make believe as though a guy couldn't grow into it, because don't forget, there was a real experiment here. Adesanya never wanted to let go of 185. He made that very clear from the beginning. And we didn't know, was that going to be enough? Now, the odds makers put him at a 3-1 favorite. A lot of the smarter bettors go, hey, listen, it's just too much to bite off. And they made some money on Adesanya tonight. But it was an experiment because we haven't seen an athlete who's been given a substantial amount of time, knows that he's moving into a weight class, who didn't try to bulk into that weight class. Adesanya was the first to say, no, I'm going to show up the smaller guy. I'm just going to beat him anyway. And by the way, that strategy wasn't all that bad. What happened, particularly if you watch the very first round, is Adesanya came out and he started touching Jan Blachowicz, and Blachowicz was hesitant. Blachowicz was very respectful. He had a fear of Adesanya. What started to happen around 4.5 minutes and was very clear by 7 minutes is Blachowicz had lost the fear. He realized the guy is a little small, and he can hit me, but he can't hurt me the way I thought he could. So then Blachowicz started to open up, and then Adesanya started to feel that power. It was a very clear fight as they handed power back and forth. It was also a very competitive fight. 2 judges brought this to a 10-8 round for Blachowicz. Some of the wildest math I've ever seen. Two judges brought this to a 10-8 round, okay? Bob Arum does not do as much business in Nevada as Dana White. Bob Arum referred to Bob Bennett, the executive director, as Director Doolittle. And it's just one of these very interesting things where there seems to be a consistency in Nevada that, particularly if you don't screw up the fight, it doesn't matter if you screwed up the rounds. Now, this is what I'm seeing from the outside. From the outside, if the fight decision goes the way that the masses thought it would, it doesn't matter how bad you got the rounds or how flip-flopped you got them, right? Dominic Cruz's fight, 1 judge gives Dominic every round, another judge gives the whole fight to his opponent, just by example. But when you have a 10-8 round, guys, and this is not the definition, okay? I'm going to say this to you for an expert to the layman because I know it's something you'll understand. A 10-8 round in large part is a judge's way to supersede a mistake made by the referee. If the fight should have been stopped and the referee failed to stop it, the judge will then correct that by giving it a 10-8 round, or at a minimum, within that round, it was eligible to be stopped for TKO. That is the only time you have a 10-8 round. If the round at some point was eligible for the ref to step in and stop it, but didn't, the judge will then correct that after the fact. That is not the interpretation, but if you go off of that, you will understand what a 10-8 is. You have to get your ass kicked and at some point be eligible for stoppage, which simply didn't happen. And the Associated Boxing Commission agrees with me. And the state of Nevada seems to allow different interpretations without review. It's simply not good business to get in the wheelhouse of the commission. It just would make no sense. There's no way to win. There's nothing that's going to happen. Chairman Marinelli's not going to do anything except text somebody and hope they write a nice piece, which is quite literally what he will do when he sees this. And Bob Bennett has never even thought about reviewing any of these scores or Peter Yan cheating, allegedly a cornerman telling him to do it, and a referee not stepping in and making a call. He will never even thought he should have reviewed that until he heard me say it now. He's going, what, gee, is that my job? None of us are overly upset. It's one of these things, though, when you have the Bob Aarons of the world publicly coming out and speaking about it, so you have notice, right? When there's mistakes made and you go, look, let's get the personnel together, it's human beings, you kick the can, that works. You do that on one Saturday, you kick the can to the next Saturday. This same thing has been happening since 2017. You can tie all of the problems with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, by the way, which I have I really don't give a damn. I truly don't. It's just one of these things that you can't tell the story of the fight and act as though there's an inconsistency with judges or referees or personnel because these guys operate all over the place and every other commission seems to get a handle on them except for Nevada. That's the only consistency, which is why I bring it up. But you can tie it into the time Pat Lundvall and Bill Brady left. There was never a complaint. There was never a pundit speaking about until that. I don't know what kind of leadership those two offered. I can just tell you it was very clear that they offered very clear leadership, and I don't know what changed as they decided to retire and go do other things with their time. I don't know. I can just tell you, you can date it back to that week. And all that any of us want from Nevada, all any of us want is an open forum to discuss these things. We would openly come in, hat in hand, no gripe, no cross to bear, and just say, hey guys, has the interpretation of a 10-8 changed? Has this interpretation changed? Because your bylaws say you go by the Associated Boxing Commission, who I spoke to 15 minutes ago, but you're not going in line with what the parameters are to any reasonable interpretation. That's why we ask the question. Have you broken with the Associated Boxing Commission, which your bylaws say you haven't, or is there something going on here just so we can explain it to the audience clearly? That's not unreasonable. That's not unreasonable. Bob Arum coming out and calling Bob Bennett Commissioner Doolittle is way, way more aggressive than what I'm being. I'm just asking a question open to the fact that I could be wrong. I am very open to the fact that they might have changed the interpretation. And perhaps the website and the bylaws didn't get upgraded and updated in the pandemic. I am very open to being wrong. It just seems very bizarre that there is no forum given. Chairman Marinelli Jr. and Bob Bennett are sitting there, have their names screamed out through the speakers for the world to hear, and nothing happens. It's not like these guys were at home, they were asleep, they happened to miss it. Let's take a look at it Monday morning. They were there. Scores all over the board. Officials not making there was an official who tried to ask a concussed fighter who was laying and rolling around on the mat, what do you want to do? That is insane. And by the way, before you think I'm kicking Mark Smith, the official, maybe that's what Nevada told him to do. Everybody has a right to speak here, not just me. Mark Smith might go, Chael, believe it or not, when a fighter is fouled, the director, Bob Bennett, told me I'm supposed to ask him what he wants to do. I'm not passing judgment on the referee. I'm telling you what happened. This happened on worldwide TV. And everybody has to speak up and everybody has to answer for it. But the executive director is oddly missing at all times. The chairman is oddly missing at all times. And there used to be a good old day, by the way. Somebody gave a 10-8 round to Blachowicz. Yeah, okay. I heard that two guys gave a 10-8 round to Blachowicz. Okay. I haven't the foggiest idea who. There used to be a good old day where they named names. Judge Cecil Peoples sees this. Judge Douglas Crosby sees this. Judge Saul D'Amato. That score was so whack, it was so unexplainable mathematically, that they just go 49-45 and the winner is. They just skipped it. They didn't read anybody's names. I don't know who did it. I can't tell you who did. I would like to give a defense to Mark Smith, though, in all fairness, because I keep talking about this referee that's asking Aljo as he's rolling around on the ground with a doctor standing over him, telling him, you stay down. You stay down. Don't move. It doesn't look like you can get up. In his defense, that might be exactly what they told him to do in Nevada. If it is, I think that you guys would agree with me. Let's review it. Let's talk about it. Let's look at that. Let's kind of come to the conclusion. And there is a rule that is believed universally, that the referee cannot and is not to smarten up the fighter. Meaning, the referee does not come over and tell the fighter, hey, if you stay down, you're going to win, and by the way, you're going to be champion of the world. That's not his job. He is not to smarten the fighter. He is just there to say, how are you feeling? It is one of those things. But when you have a fighter who has been fouled, you've ruled it's disqualifiable, you're going to take a point away, and your doctor has now entered all this time has elapsed, and the fighter's still on the ground rolling around. Whether you think he's a good actor or not, that's not for you to know. He's still down, and now you have a licensed medical professional telling him, stay down. Don't get up. Stay down. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you from there because it doesn't look like you should be on your feet. What are we talking to Aljo for? What are we asking him for? And you guys can try to take a high-handed approach. I heard some people saying nobody wants to win a championship like that. I'll take the goddamn thing right now. Right now. Nobody wants to win a championship that way. Why? For tonight? For tonight, it's embarrassing. Hey, I don't really know if I should have this belt. For tonight? Are you aware that the night Vitor Belfort became champion, he threw a punch at Randy Couture that never touched him? You guys know that story? It missed him by a millimeter, but there was a piece of the stitching of the glove, and the glove is kind of like fishing line. It's a real hard plastic. There was a piece of the glove of the stitching that hung off, and though the punch missed Randy by a millimeter, that stitching caught his eyelid and ripped it off. They had to stop the fight. Vitor's the champion of the world. Forget about whether you think that's right or wrong. Forget about whether you knew that story. It doesn't make a bit of difference. You know what Vitor Belfort is? He's former champion of the world. Two of my favorite athletes, Melvin Douglas, 1993, Brandon Slay, year 2000, Sydney Olympic Games. Melvin Douglas, world champion, Brandon Slay, Olympic champion. They both lost their match. They didn't redo it. There was no disqualification. They lost their match. 30 days later, drug test came back. Guys that had beat them. One was an Iranian against Melvin. One was the German against Slay. They failed them. They moved those guys from silver to gold. For Brandon Slay, good morning. They didn't know what to do. The Olympic didn't know what to do. They'd already left Australia. It was a month ago. The IOC had the decency to go to the expense to fly Brandon Slay and both of the other medalists out. They put it on Good Morning America at 7 a.m. They let him step on the stand in the middle of New York City. They held the flags up and they let everybody give him his moment. I only bring that to you because there's a lot more that I could give you by way of this. Do you know the story of how Paul Hahn became the all-around Olympic champion? Do you know that story? Does it make any difference? The guy that comes out and says, well, nobody wants to be champion like this. What a freaking prick. What a joke. What a high-handed, just for the moment, stance you're trying to take. You will never meet a guy named LeBron. You will never meet a guy named Jordan. You will never meet a guy named Tiger. You will never meet a great anywhere that would look a championship in the mouth. That is so anti-competitive and so stupid. And right now you're going to think, God, Chael, that really surprises me for you to say that. Historic, I'm right. You didn't know the story about Vitor. You didn't know it about Melvin Douglas. You forgot about Paul Hahn. You probably never heard of Brandon Slay. And in 2 years is not very long. In 2 years, we're going to have a wave of new fans that are never going to know how Aljo won it. Oh, and by the way, we're going to have current fans that are going to have forgot. It doesn't make a bit of difference. There's a number of ways to win fights. Knockouts and disqualifications and decisions. And guess what the fourth way is? DQ. If you can frustrate a guy, just by example, if you can frustrate a guy so much to make him cheat, they'll reward you and say that was brilliant. I realize that's not what happened tonight. I realize Aljo didn't force him into it. I realize there was no strategy. There was just a weird happenstance. I'm only sharing with you, moreover, some of the stupidity that I have to hear within the sport. Just some level of ridiculousness that I have to hear within the sport, and it's anti-competitive, and you say it for the moment from some kind of a high-handed bravery stance. Who gives a goddamn how you win? There's 4 ways to win, and you can pick the order. I'd love to knock him out. After that, I'd love to TKO him. My last decision, I'd sure like to win a decision. There's a 4th way. It's called disqualification. It was your last choice. It's the one you got. You really want to complain?